In life, we all want a good life. We all want well-being. We all want to be happy. We all want to be successful. We all want our children to be successful. We want our families to be successful. We care about our countries. We want our countries to be successful, our communities to be successful. And so we invest so much in trying to achieve that success. The transition from childhood to youth to adulthood is a very long journey that has so many complex processes involved, has several challenges that one has to go through, has various experiences that one has to go through to get to that good life. If you're an adult who has attained a certain kind of life that you'd say is a good life, would you say that's what you had hoped to achieve when you look back to when you were youth? What did you hope you would be doing? Would you say you've achieved what you hope you'd have achieved by this point? What would you tell a young person on how they would get to where you are, or how they would actually get to a better place? What processes would you tell them shaped where you are at this point? How would you explain those complex processes to them? And perhaps if you're a guardian or parent, how would you equip this young person or mentor of a young person? How do you equip them for the complex processes that they have to go through to achieve that kind of success, or even to a better place than where you are? Vice versa, if you're a young person, you're looking into the future and you're hoping that life can get better. What kind of life are you hoping for? What do you hope you'll be doing as an adult? Do you have a sense of the kinds of processes that will get you to that place? To what extent do you have an understanding of the complexities that will get you to that stage, or the complex human interactions that will get you to that stage? See, when we're all in our youth, we have hopes for a good life. We hope for well-being for ourselves, our families, future families, communities, and also countries. At an individual level, we hope for well-paying jobs with benefits. We want to have good health. We want a nice house. We want a good spouse or partner. We want successful children, etc. At a higher level, we hope to live in a good neighborhood. We hope to be in a secure community. We hope to have a friendly neighborhood. We want to be in a peaceful and secure country. We want our countries to thrive, our economies to thrive, and many other good things. What I have learned from the many encounters that I have had with youth from all over the world is that the hopes for a good life are shared by a diverse range of youth. Whether they are from rich families or poor families, whether they live in rich countries and poor countries, whether they live in rural areas or urban areas, whether they have different genders, whether they are single or married. Looking back at my own life as a young person, I had the same hopes, and through various hardships, I learned that the gap between the vision that a young person has for a good life and achieving that good life is so large. The understanding of the processes that one has to go through from the vision to achieving that life is not easy to grasp. And this is one of the things that makes young people anxious and stressful, and also makes them a lot stressful during that stage because they cannot see what lies ahead. And seeking that stage of well-being is difficult by itself. When I completed high school, I had hopes of joining a university right away after finishing high school. And I wanted to have a good life. I wanted to have well-being for myself and my family. I hoped that I would have a well-paying job as a computer scientist, would have a good house, take care of my parents, help my relatives, and many other good things. But due to the complexities of life, that transition from high school, finishing high school to university, was not as easy as I thought. It took 7 long years of navigating so many complexities to get into a university. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I wasn't alone in that tough journey. I was with my other young friends from my high school and neighborhood. There were sad parts in that journey. There were many of my friends who did not see their dreams come true. The complexities of life were just too hard for them and their families. Very few achieved their dreams. Some pivoted and went for their second best options. Some went for their 5th best option, and some just took whatever they landed on. Some gave up. Some suffered from diseases, mental health problems, and were unable to achieve the goals they wanted. Some, very unfortunately, became criminals and landed in jail, and even some that I've heard of were killed. The saddest part is some passed away even before they made it to 30 due to illnesses that could have been cured if they had the resources. When I was leaving Kenya to come for further studies in the US, I remembered vividly my farewell party because of my fellow youth that had come to see me off. As a youth leader, I knew so many of them and the challenging situations they were navigating. Almost all of them were hopeful that one day they too would have a chance to escape from poverty and pursue the good life, that one day they too would get into a university, that Kenya would develop faster so that they can get good jobs. One request that a lot of them made in the farewell party, which has also been the inspiration for starting SAYDS, is to remember them when I get to the US. So I did. I tried my best to fulfill that wish by sending resources to them, sending literature that they could read about poverty, but the needs were just too many to keep up with. So in my second year, I started an organization called Vijana Katika Maendeleo, which means youth in development in Kenya, to work with them to address a wide range of issues. From the work that we were doing in that organization in communities, we learned that the challenges that many of my friends were struggling with to navigate were also struggles of many other youth throughout the country. And so I saw that request as a call to remember the youth in Kenya. But by extension, this was also a challenge that youth in Africa were facing. So when I look back at where I started after high school to where I am today in life, it is very clear to me that there are so many complex processes that young people have to navigate to achieve their hopes of a good life and well-being. And it is a lot. And this doesn't mean just having a well-paying job and a nice house. I mean, being well-being in general. I mean, happiness in a deep sense, fullness of life. If you have attained that good life that you wanted or are on track to achieving it, how many times have you ever wondered about all the complex processes that had to go well for you to do so? Have you ever wondered about all the people that had to mobilize resources and facilitate the appropriate actions to create conditions for your success? If you haven't achieved it yet or just starting to pursue that life, have you thought about the same issues and wondered about the people that will be needed to facilitate and coordinate things so that you can attain the good life that you seek? How about the complex processes that have to go well, especially those that you are not in control of, but other people are? At any stage in your life, so many people had to act in the appropriate ways for you to keep moving forward, or have to act for you to keep moving forward in the right direction. Let's take your high school stage, for example. Place yourself in your last year of high school and think of the following. The principal or head teacher that coordinated many teachers to offer you lessons for 4 years, the teachers that had to navigate challenges at home to make it to class and teach you, your friends that had to navigate life challenges and help you, the activist or nonprofit organization that lobbied the government to make sure the right policies for college loans are created, the community-based organization that provided resources that you didn't have, the health administrator making sure hospitals run smoothly so that you have the healthcare you need when you're sick, the political leaders leading others to create infrastructural programs that make it possible for you to commute easily from home to school, the companies trying to get electricity to your home and school, the water company getting water to run in your school and home, the tech companies making sure your stable internet connection works well so that you can do research and learn. You could do the same for another stage in life. Let's say when you were about to graduate from college. Think about the entrepreneur who is starting a new business and getting others to work in this new business to create employment opportunities that you later apply for. The government leaders working to ensure there is good infrastructure to get those businesses to work and to get you to be able to move from work to home. The banks that are working well to make sure your money is safe, the health insurance company that covers your hospital bills, and many more. In short, at any point of life in our transition from youth to the life we hope for in adulthood, we need a lot of people that are acting on many parts of the system at the same time. And we rely on those complex processes to go well. Unfortunately, We don't do a very good job of reflecting on all those processes, partly because we don't have the knowledge and skills for doing so. And even if we are trained, it's just difficult to keep track of complex processes. Sometimes we just don't care, especially when life is going well or everything is taken care of for you. But most youth in Africa, and I think other parts of the world, can't thrive if they ignore these processes. In this world we have created with so much inequality, they will continue being left behind, and so will their communities and countries. Being aware of complex processes and knowing how to navigate them well has benefits for all of us and future generations. Even those who have already made it successfully still need to think this way. What if you were keenly aware that all those processes shaped how you navigated life in your youth? Would you attain the good life that you seek in a different way, in a faster way, in a better way? Would you be happier than you are right now in a deep sense of well-being and not just a superficial sense? Would you probably or perhaps have harmed fewer people on your way up? Would you have lifted many others on your way forward and not used them if you did that? Would you know how to get that life faster for yourself and others? Would you know how to collaborate better with others to improve your life, your communities, and your countries? And even better, the world's? These are the questions that bother many youth that look into the future with aspirations for a good life with well-being, especially when they know that there is so much uncertainty. They want to know how they can navigate complexities, but sometimes don't know where to start. Even those who admire the wealthy and watch a lot of the stories about the wealthy or use them as role models, sometimes fear the negative effects of wealth and still ask the same questions. Every week, I get to engage with many youth who have been scared by the complexities that lie ahead of their way to a good life. There are some who want to tackle the complex barriers in their community, but get stuck or run away from them all the same. Have you had such experiences with youth or a young person? Do you know of any youth that face such challenges? If you're a parent or guardian of a young person that's struggling with their youth and is trying to figure out how to make and achieve a good life, how do you equip them to navigate complexities they face and have to navigate to achieve a good life? How do you prepare them to tackle the complex challenges that the communities and countries face? About 2 years ago, I had a meeting with a young man in our program that had just completed high school and was encountering so many difficulties in efforts to go to college. The problems he had faced after high school inspired him to join SAYDS. He was from a low-income neighborhood and could not even get a good small business to start because of lack of funds from his family, friends, or neighbors. Note that this young person did not have access to loans. These were his sources of funds. He had tried to start one that sells secondhand clothes once, but the people in his neighborhood were not able to make enough purchases to get the business going, and so it collapsed. It largely collapsed because he could not keep it running in the evening when there were more potential customers due to lack of reliable electricity and a high rate of crime. He was bothered about the high rate of crime for himself and his neighborhoods. He feared being robbed at night or mugged after a long day of work, and so always closed early before he could make enough money to take home and help his parents, or even make profit. I asked him what he thought could be done or who should solve the problem, and he said the national government or international development organizations or NGOs. But then he also expressed lack of confidence in the government because the efforts of the government had failed. He said the police were unreliable, and when called did not arrest the criminals even when they knew where they stayed and who they were, partly because they were paid bribes by the criminals. Then I asked him what he thought the youth, who were the majority in the community, could do, and he said that the problem is too difficult for them and they don't know what to do or where to start. Indeed, this is a complex problem with many parts that would have to be understood for the young man to create a successful, adaptive, and resilient business that brings profit. So using some of our toolkits, he understood the complex nature of problems and developed this sense of confidence that he could tackle such a problem. This confidence in knowing that he has the tools for tackling the problem and knowing how to use them is so crucial for his progress, and more importantly, his efforts to help his community. This young man is an example of the youth who have joined our program in the past 3 years. They have experienced so many social problems that have undermined their well-being and progress in life. They have seen how complex social problems have undermined the well-being in their families and communities, and they want to do something about finding solutions, but sometimes don't know where to start. And they don't want to keep waiting for the government or international development organizations or NGOs to solve the problems. They want to have the confidence and agency in tackling the problems and are asking very important questions. The big questions that the 9 youth groups in our program are currently tackling are: how can they improve the mental health of youth in their communities? How can they end drug and substance abuse that mostly affecting the well-being of youth? How can they end gender-based violence? What can be done to successfully reduce the high levels of youth unemployment? What can be done to end child victimization? How can they end poor waste management that's making their communities inhabitable and unhealthy? How can they improve the poor housing in slums? What can be done to stop the unprecedented increase in teenage pregnancy? How can they improve maternal health and nutrition of teenage mothers? These are issues that also affect millions of people around the world, if you noticed. Perhaps even people you know of, perhaps your own siblings, perhaps your own family members. So in some sense, they are seeking solutions that can improve the well-being of millions around the world. When I was in my youth, I asked similar questions due to personal experiences and observations. I had personally experienced some of those problems in my attempts to make progress from high school to college, and I observed so many of my peers suffer from some of them. A lot of my observations came from serving as a leader in various positions during my youth. When I started college in the US, I was focused on one major issue: how to effectively tackle poverty. All the education that I acquired from my first year in college to my last year in graduate school was centered on this issue. Throughout that period, I started and ran 3 organizations that tried different kinds of solutions to diverse audiences in Kenya, mostly failed because of the complexities of trying to tackle those problems. There were some sign of success, but mostly failed because of those. And when I look back, I realized that complexities were there. I also taught courses on poverty and development to understand it better. After almost 20 years of trying to understand poverty and tackle it, one thing that I have learned is that without the ability to understand the complex nature of social problems like poverty and to use systems thinking to identify solutions, it is difficult for youth to successfully tackle them. And it will be very difficult for youth in the 21st century to tackle them because such problems resist simple solutions. And this can be quite discouraging for young people that want to tackle them, and has been, and it's why they run away. From what I have observed in the youth that have gone through our program and those that I have taught in college, the complexities of social problems is one of the major reasons why they do not tackle them or quit once they try a solution that is resisted by the problem. This is a major problem for Africa, where the majority of the population in communities are youth. By some estimates, 65% of Africa's population is youth. Therefore, if youth not engage with the problems, to continue being marginalized and continue being excluded, it will be difficult to tackle the social problems that are becoming more complex in the 21st century, which youth will have to navigate. So, we created SAYDS to try and fill this important gap. We created SAYDS to equip youth with the knowledge, skills, and experiences for tackling the complex social problems, to learn how to navigate them and achieve well-being for themselves and to improve well-being in their communities and their countries. One of the big questions, therefore, that we are tackling in SAYDS that drives our work is, how can we, as a society, as a world, equip youth with systems acumen for navigating complexities in the 21st century and facilitating development at different levels, be it at home, be it in their communities, be it in their countries, be it at a global level. In the past 3 years, we have learned so much, but not everything on how we can equip youth to do so. We believe that it's very important that youth learn how to do so in this 21st century world that is highly complex and is creating so much uncertainty for them and their communities. Complexity and system thinking skills may not necessarily bring an end to all the social problems, but what they do is that they can make it possible for youth to navigate complexities and flourish by making their communities and countries adaptive and resilient. Even making they themselves resilient and adaptive is a major, significant help in solving complex problems. In the upcoming episodes, we will share with you how we equip youth with complexity and system thinking skills, what we have learned works and doesn't work, why some things work and some don't, what we have achieved so far, some insights from the work that youth have done. And as we keep working with youth and learning from them, we let them share with you some of their experiences. What we learn in SAYDS, it's not just for youth in Africa. As you have seen by the questions the youth are asking in SAYDS, these are questions that concern many people, millions around the world. The insights and experiences that youth therefore gain will be shared and are useful for youth in other parts of the world as well. Until next time, please check out our website, sayds.co, keep track with our Facebook page, and kindly consider supporting us financially by donating whatever you can. At the moment, we don't have any grants. We've mostly depended on donations, and we've been around for 3 years. So we are very thankful to everyone who has supported our work. Your support will help us in learning more about how to equip youth with systems acumen around Africa and around the world, and more importantly, in equipping youth for the complex challenges of the 21st century. You will also be joining us in being champions for the well-being of youth and their aspirations for well-being, their communities, their countries, and the world. Thank you. See you or talk to you next time.